Oh God, what have I made? Nobody will want this stuff.
Oh, wow. NotJah, is this your Teespring store?
Yeah, I just threw some simple, silly designs together quick. It's nothing special, just some funny, overpriced things on NotJah's underworld market.
Oh, look at this. This is super cool. You can get a hoodie and many other style of shirts.
Not just shirts, but some great Yowie design stretch pants too.
And who wouldn't like an awesome coffee mug?
Or an angry nacho throw pillow for your couch. Everyone wants one of those.
Payment online is the best way to pay you.
Well, heck, Jen, thanks. Here's all your awesome nacho merch.
Check out NotJah's Underworld Market on Teespring today.
G'day everyone, NotJah here for another Atheist Flashbacks. And I am here today with Mr. Bear. G'day mate. Tell
Hello
us
there.
everybody who you are, where you're from, and what religion you used to be.
Yeah, sure. Mr. Bear Atheist. You can find me on YouTube. I used to be Catholic. Well, I suppose you can say Roman Catholic, having an Italian Australian background. So I was deep in the flesh of Christ. Absolutely.
Ooh, sounds
Yeah.
fun.
Tasty.
This would be interesting actually. Is the Roman Catholic specifically different to a general Catholic?
There are some other little touches to it. Depending, so there's little traditions that come into it, especially with my relatives' background from southern Italy. There's a lot of
That's
extra
interesting.
little traditions thrown in there with that. Yeah, it was. So it may not be strictly Roman Catholic, but there's Roman Catholic with a side order of superstition and witchcraft.
Fair call. Okay. Well, for everyone that doesn't know, not like you should fucking know by now, this is a drinking game. I will take my guests back in time to their former theist self, and basically whenever they break character, we drink. Goes for me as well. So first question, of course, is what are you drinking?
I am drinking. Mrs. Bear was good enough to get me a slab of Canadian Club in dry in cans. 4.8% alcohol. So I'm
Very
looking
nice.
forward to that. Yeah.
Look, I'm not one to ever diss a Canadian brew. I'm here drinking 4X, so...
End of discussion.
It is what it is, all right?
Yeah. Does the job.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, it takes a few too many to finally do any job, but it'll get there. Pinch the nose and skull it down. You don't taste it.
That's it.
All right, so from here on out, we're going to start the game. You're going to be your former Roman Catholic self. Anytime that you break character, we'll have to call drink. And by all means, like, you call it on me, I call it on you. Like, whenever you notice it, just call it.
Okay,
just
I've
out
already
for
got.
fun.
I'll start with the preface. I've already got 3 under the belt. So
yeah, no, I've got about 4 or so. Yeah, no, I'm probably about 2 in your Canadian.
Oh yeah, equivalents. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Okay. So, and I can I were you ever like a pastor or anything like that? Did you hold any position?
No, I didn't.
Before we started?
No. I studied somewhat, but I never reached any position. No.
I just wanted to ensure I wasn't going to be disrespectful. Then, if you were Pastor Bear, I wanted to make sure I'd refer to you as Pastor Bear kind of thing.
That's right. Deacon Bear, that's right. Yeah.
Deacon Bear. So, does your religion allow you to drink?
It does, absolutely, especially when you can drink the so-called. I think I've took character already because I've said so-called blood of Christ.
Shit,
Bottoms
it's
up.
not an easy game.
It's not it's not at all. Oh, Jesus. Okay, start again. Yeah, because you can drink the blood of Christ, which before it's, the big T word, transmogrification into the blood of Jesus is essentially wine. So you are allowed to drink that at some services.
Okay.
But however, you are. It's as part of our culture in terms of Italian culture. Wine is very much a part of that in terms of the Mediterranean culture. So it's not frowned upon. No, not at all.
So what about to the point of getting blotto, which to our American viewers is getting drunk?
Yeah, there's probably some issues with that. You have to keep things in some sort of moderation, but the Italians are known for for their parties and good times and family get-togethers. So
this is true.
I think,
and they are good times from what I hear.
They are really good times with plenty of food. If you have 30 people, you have to cook for 200. So no, I don't think there's any problems in that regard in terms of getting drunk, because Jesus drank wine too, and so
they're quite forgiving in that respect.
Oh, look, that's fine. That's looked over. Absolutely.
No, that's quite lovely. Open-minded and full-bellied.
Well, see, the food soaks a lot of it up.
That will exactly.
So
exactly.
You can eat as much as you want, and you're really chasing that to stay happy and merry. So before your body absorbs it all the carbs for the 30 assortments of pasta.
I mean, that does sound like a good party, admittedly.
Yeah. Look, always a good time with the vino. My nonno used to make his own vino. Actually, he had his own little. He made out of concrete this little winemaking area in his backyard, in his garden. He had a massive tomato garden, and he used to make his own wine, and that stuff was strong. It was strong. It burnt your nostril hairs before it even got to your mouth.
Top effort. Yeah, can't knock that.
It was good. It was good stuff.
All right. So we'll go on to some more of the serious questions. Obviously, we had to touch base with that, first up. What led you to be in this religion? Like, did you join, or were you born into the religion?
Yeah, born into Catholicism right from the get-go with baptism, and primary school was a Catholic school, praying, singing every day, praying mass every week. I went to Catholic high school, and then halfway through we moved, so I went to a public school. But we still maintain our Catholicism that way. We didn't see any problems with that. We still attended mass, so
naturally,
we still attend mass. And I said attended past tense.
Okay. Well, no, because you're still talking about when you were younger in that respect.
Yeah, I mean, true. I'm going to take a sip anyway.
Fair call. But how often did you attend mass?
It was every week, every Friday.
Just weekly? Was there any other
obviously, having a large family, it was weddings and funerals.
Of course, yeah.
So massive weddings, massive 2-hour weddings in churches. Christmas mass, Easter, and the occasional Sunday mass. So a lot of church services, and a lot of priests and deacons and bishops and all the rest of it.
Ooh, sounds fun.
Very very official. Very lot of mothball smells, a lot of incense. All that sort of atmospheric, old wood smelling church atmospheric stuff. Yeah,
Haven't dusted the place in years smell.
pretty much. When you stare right up into the rafters, you can make out the massive cobwebs up there. Yeah, it was that sort of that sort of thing. Yeah,
Oh, damn.
yeah
Um,
just yeah.
all right. What's your favorite part of going to mass, or even attending some other church service? Like, what's your favorite part? What gets you up in the morning for it?
Oh, for church. I really like talking to God in church.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like being able to do that because I think we're pretty cool with one another, as corny as that sounds.
Well,
I think
it's
yeah,
something I've heard is the Catholic Church is, the Catholic God, or their view of God is pretty down to earth, in that
yeah,
respect. Like,
yeah, yeah. For us, it's really centered around Mary and her divinity, I suppose you could say. Mary is held up um, in our eyes. So, um, but I like that. I like that. I like being able to talk to God. I love the silence of the church, and I love the communion. That's probably that's my second favorite. I know what my last favorite thing is, and that's
yeah,
giving the sign of peace to each other. I get so much anxiety over that. Is my hand too sweaty? You know, when we have to shake hands, if you're aware, we have to shake hands with one another as a sign of peace.
okay,
And I get really anxious with that because I get really sweaty paws, and I don't know who to turn to, and if they feel weird if I shake someone else's hand, or should I shake my mum's hand? Is that weird? Um, so that's my
damn.
worst part. I hate that part. I hate that part.
Um, I'd hope those. I'm just thinking in current context. I'd hope those practices have been curbed a little bit. Given the coronavirus going around.
Yeah, everything's online at the moment, so I'm
That's
like I feel good that way. I don't have to shake hands or make signs of peace.
just for
But
now.
yeah,
That's yeah.
it's actually worked in my favor. I'm not so anxious, but I really miss the community and the feeling of having God present there with
Yeah.
us all, and sharing that, and knowing that um,
Oops.
that God is there. So
Um.
yeah, it's
Very
really
cool.
special. It's special to me. It's really special to me because I talk
But
to God
that's
every
what
day.
it's meant to be. Of course, it's a personal
Yeah,
relationship that you have with God.
yeah,
And that's what it's all about.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and
All right. I want to run you through a few of the Bible stories, I suppose, like, and just get your
oh yeah,
perspective on them.
yeah.
Um, we'll start off in a bit of chronologicals order, if
Okay,
you'll, if it's even in that. I don't even know. I just threw them down in whatever random thing I thought of.
sure. Yeah.
What would your being a Roman Catholic? What is your beginning? What is the religion's creation story? Like, are they young Earth creationist, old Earth, or like is it 7 days, all that
Um,
jazz?
it's the 7 days creation. Yeah, 7 days creation. Um, there's a lot of talk about how old. There's nothing really young Earth creationist about it. No, it's really just in the beginning, God made the Earth, and in the 7 days. That's pretty much it. No one really talks about
How
the
long
age,
ago,
how long
sort of
ago it
thing?
was.
Yeah,
It as far as I know, it was just a very long time ago. And I figured it's hundreds of millions of years ago. It was a long time ago. Um,
that's fair.
yeah,
That's fair.
it's almost like a fog. I remember watching this movie. I watched the movie when I was a kid, and they filmed it like with that Vaseline effect on the lens,
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
made it look like it was such a long time ago that I almost
Jesus.
could believe that they maybe even it could have been the real thing. Maybe even I don't know, but but I sort of learned when films were made, but back then I was fairly convinced how they filmed it was, oh, okay, this could be, this could be it. I don't know.
Very cool.
It was pretty faithful. It was beautifully made. And I've
You
been
gotta
trying
love
to,
the Vaso scenes.
the Vaso scenes are good. If you've got, if you've got, you've got Vaso, you can film anything.
That's pretty much it, eh?
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
shit.
yeah, no, it's a very, very beautiful thing. So that's
Okay.
as far as I know. As far as I know, it was just a very long time ago. I don't know how long ago it was. Maybe
And
maybe even just some thousands of years. Yeah, hundreds of thousands of years. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean that means that there's not really a big confliction about the whole young Earth creationist bullshit. Like it's just
Not really.
It's when God did it, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And that way, there's no fights. It's I didn't even know anything about young Earth creation. Like, what is that? I don't know.
Oh, another day. We'll get into that another day.
That's all right. I don't even know. I've never heard of him before.
For the best.
I've never heard of him before.
All right. We'll move on to like the story of Noah and the Great Flood. Was that a global thing? Is that something like a literal story?
Yeah. And there was evidence of it too, as far as I remember. They found the old ark in Turkey somewhere. So there's evidence for it. There's evidence there. So you can't say it didn't happen.
I do recall seeing something about that. Fair cool. That's straight up. Yeah. No, that's a.
I remember seeing the photos. Yeah, they had photos of the old ark. It was really cool. It was really good. They finally found it.
What about
yeah.
Moving on to like the Egypt story, the Exodus from Egypt, when we had the 10 plagues and that was all absolute literal, like the wasps, or not the wasps, the locusts. I meant
the hornets,
the wasps. There's the murder bees or whatever in the news today. Got me thinking of them.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, the Pacific Northwest in the States. I think there's killer hornets coming in. Yeah,
that's it.
Well, see, I learned that from 10 Commandments. We used to watch that every Easter. The old season.
Classic movie.
Classic movie. Yeah. Watched it we still watch it every Easter, and I've got the DVD actually, and that was, as far as I can tell, how it was. Yeah.
That's fair. It was a great depiction of the Bible's fence.
Yeah. Look, it was pretty.
And that goes accurate with the crossing of the Red Sea, of course, too. Hey, like that was all. Because I mean that is an intense scene. I got to admit. Yeah,
it's so cool, and even now it holds up in some ways, and I think that was. I mean, I wish I was there to have seen that. To be honest, it would have been just amazing.
Absolutely.
But
we'll move on to the story of Job. Are you familiar with the story of Job?
Not really. No.
He was the dude that he was so faithful. Satan, the devil, he decided to what would be the right term? Make a bet maybe with God that like he could get him to be unfaithful if he did enough bad things to him. If God let Satan do enough bad things to him. And God's like, yeah, all right. That sounds like a deal.
I thought Moses was the only one who really saw God, so there you go. No, I didn't know anything about that.
Dude never got to see God.
Oh.
Dude never got to see God.
Oh.
Job, it was this underhanded deal basically between Satan and God with Satan going, hey, I can make this guy disloyal to you. He's so loyal. He's the most loyal in the land. I can make him disloyal if I take all the great things away from him that you've given him.
No, I don't.
And God's like, yeah, all right.
Yeah, no, I don't really believe that.
All right. Okay. So I would definitely look that up. That's one of the sort of more, for me anyway, more well-known stories of the Bible, because how it concludes would be, of course, God takes him up on it, and Satan basically takes away everything Job has, all his household, his livestock, his family even.
Maybe that's a
and he
different
leaves him sick and dying. Not
Bible or
the-
something, I think. I don't know. Yeah.
Just
No,
hear
I
me
haven't
out,
really heard
though.
about that.
Hear me out
Yeah.
for this
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
He wouldn't let him die. That was the one deal. You wouldn't take his life. So he made him really sick and everything. So that because Satan was trying to make Job disloyal, but Job, he was not disloyal. He was faithful till the end. And you know what happened? After Satan realized that, well, I can't make this man disloyal to you, God. God gave him a new family, new livestock, a new house, a new, a wonderful new life.
Yeah.
And in the story, he prospers greatly after all of this.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean,
I don't
I'd
know.
normally ask
Yeah.
your opinion, but seeing as you're not familiar with it, I think I'll skip over that one.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
'cause I
that's
don't know which
interesting to
version.
hear your
It
reaction
sounds like it's
to that.
It's a different version, I think, or something. I don't know, because I know there's other versions of the Bible and things, but it just doesn't sound real to me. Doesn't sound like
Fair
the
enough.
right thing to me. Yeah, so I don't
Fair
know.
enough. All right,
know.
we'll jump ahead. We'll move some. What about Jonah? The story of Jonah when he was swallowed by a big fish. Would that be a literal story?
I've heard something about it, but I haven't read it, to be honest. No, they
Okay.
don't
No, that's
talk
fair
about
enough.
that either. I don't
I
know
did
what
forget
version
to mention, you of course can
Is-
say, hey, I don't know.
Is it?
Like
Yeah.
that's an
Yeah.
okay answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you believe in that? Is that something you believe?
Oh, we're not asking me questions here.
Yeah.
Good try, though. All right, we'll jump ahead to the Gospels. This is one that everyone can agree on usually. Like, so the Gospels are 100%, aren't they? I'd assume.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely.
So Jesus' resurrection, was that something that is like metaphysical, physical, or just spiritual? What's the belief within the Roman Catholics?
I think it was physical. He did rise up. So he was dead, and then he rose. He was physically there for a while.
Present.
Yeah, physically present. They didn't recognize him though. No one recognized him, and because it was so changed, obviously, resurrection. So he was there for a while, and then after so many days, he rose to heaven. So I just imagine that as he physically rose into the sky and disappeared, pretty much like something in Independence Day. You just see.
Is that? Forgive me if I'm getting this wrong. Is that what the transubstantiation is?
Yeah. Yeah.
When he goes from the physical into the spiritual realm. I may be absolutely wrong about that, but
eventually I think he was spiritual. Yeah. Somewhere along the way, I think he was spiritual. Yes. Initially he was in physical form. They just didn't recognize him, which is one of the mysteries of the resurrection, isn't it? Yeah.
Brings up another question. Speaking of the apostles, who I'm assuming you're referring to, were they contemporaries of Jesus? Were they alive at the same time as Jesus?
Yes.
And so they walked with him?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yes, because they witnessed the who went to? Oh, you've got me on the spot. I think in Mark they actually went there to the tomb and saw that Jesus wasn't there, and then they witnessed his ascension into heaven. So it was they were there with Jesus.
Okay,
Absolutely.
Very cool.
Yep.
So that's
how we know about it today. That's the only reason we know about it today. They were there. They carried
of course. And they wrote it down for us to read and through the ages. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. The last one, I always like this one because not everyone has a good answer for it. To be honest, even though it's just saying what you think about it, not everyone really knows. The Book of Revelations, because it's a tricky one. Like things like the apocalypse, for example, and the rapture. Like, do you believe in the rapture?
No.
So what happens in the apocalypse? or
Oh, look,
when the end of times happens?
I've only heard little things about it. I don't really sort of look into that too much. I haven't actually read it, so I don't really know much about that. Just that there is an antichrist that will come one day, and I know that Jesus will return, and basically they will fight it out. But that's as much as I know.
That's no,
Um,
that's
the
fair
people,
enough.
all of us, all of the dead will rise from the graves again, and at that time, so it'll be an amazing thing. Yeah,
Fair call. Fair call.
yeah,
Um, all right. I mean, we just did a bit of a general jump through some of the books of the Bible, kind of jogs
yeah,
from memory a little bit. But what would you
yeah.
say your favorite book of the Bible or story in the Bible would be? If anything jumps out at you.
Oh, okay. Probably the house built on sand parable is very powerful.
House
My,
built on the
um,
sand. Oh, I
yeah,
mean,
the house.
it's somewhat familiar, but I'm not picking it at the moment. What's that one
Uh,
about?
it's been imagery one for me that don't the moral of the story is don't build a house on sand because it's very unstable. But
Oh, fair
like,
enough. Oh, like
yeah,
having solid
it's very powerful.
foundations and
Solid foundations.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. But I do like
I'm
the
with
one
you.
of it is a post-resurrection one where Jesus says, "Cast your." It's in the book of John where you cast your net out into the water to bring in the fish, and it's a test of faith where Jesus tests the faith of his favorite disciple. I think it was Peter, wasn't it? I think it was. Um, how he tests his disciples and their faith, and they don't. This is the part where they don't recognize him, and
Okay.
it's really
Yeah.
powerful. It's a really powerful thing where they realize who he is, and it just gives me goosebumps. It makes me really think. I can't question my faith. I can't question it because Jesus knows. He knows more than I do. So yeah, it's something I can't question at all. And
It's like he knows your heart. Yeah.
he knows. Yeah, 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 yeah. Absolutely
Do you
knows
have
everything.
a do you have like this? It might be hard to answer, but do you have a least favorite book or story of the Bible? Like something that just you were always like, yeah, I'm gonna skip that one.
Oh well, I suppose the crucifixion is one of those ones where it's just it's a hard watch. It's a hard read.
Yeah.
Um, and also when Jesus is betrayed, um,
Judas.
Judas still, yeah, and the whole world turns on Jesus, and that's the downfall. That's the beginning of the end, and it's just devastating. It's absolutely devastating that he uh, was betrayed that way, but ultimately gave himself for us. He actually went through all that for us, for humankind. Um, that's something you just can't comprehend how powerful that is. Um,
Of
and
course.
so
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
that's the
incredible.
ultimate sacrifice.
Absolutely, absolutely, and we have to honor it. We have to honor it with our lives and how we live every day. We have to remember that um, to help cleanse our sin. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'm curious to know, like, uh, what what would you consider, or what would your God, sorry, consider to be good or bad? So, what would be, for example, the most unforgivable sin?
The most unforgivable sin. Um,
Or even an example of an unforgivable sin?
an unforgivable
Something
sin
you'd go to hell for.
would be murder. I would say. So any death, killing, murder would be the worst. Also, not honoring your parents. and also I'm going to take a drink.
Fair enough.
Mm.
You're doing well though,
Oh, sorry.
admittedly.
I know. Yeah, I know, but I'm clutching the walls.
Oh, it gets better.
Figured it. Oh God. Okay. And also sex before marriage.
Yeah, that's a nasty one.
Is a no. Absolutely not.
I,
Absolutely not.
I must admit, actually, a few of them are interesting points, because if I do recall the Gospels proper, Jesus did speak of both murderers, the likes of murderers and prostitutes being people
Yep.
who'd sleep before marriage, getting into heaven before the likes of even the most faithful.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So how I mean, there's a bit of a disparity there, is there not?
No, because that's different from just normal people having sex before marriage. Like, because you're too young, you're mature, and it's not seen in the eyes of God. We're not prostitutes. We're not selling ourselves. We're not.
No, of
Yeah.
course.
So it's quite
The
different.
murderer, for example, that was
Yeah,
up on the stake. Sorry, geez, my JW self just came back. The stake up on the cross, or I'm having a drink for that one.
Okay.
Yeah. So the murderer guy or whatever up on the cross next to Jesus, it was.
Yeah, the robbers. Yeah.
I'm sure one of them murdered somebody.
I think one. Yes, yeah, I think so.
I thought one was a robber and a murderer or something like that.
Well,
or maybe
yeah,
that was
you're
the
quite right.
story I'd been told.
Yeah, you're quite right. Yeah. He killed numerous things. Yeah, but anyway, yeah.
But no, my thought process there was like they surely can't be unforgivable then.
Well, it's up to God in the end to judge that. We are all going to be judged. So depending on the circumstances, I mean, you know that thing where they say, if someone breaks into your home and you kill them out of self-defense, you kill them because you're defending your children. I would think God would look okay at that. So depending on the circumstances, I think God is the ultimate judge, and he can't question his morals at all. So that will come down to God's judgment ultimately, and what happens there. I mean, if it's your very last resort is to kill, I think there may be something there, but I can't question that. That's up to God to judge and consider.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously that with that goes, you'd put the same thing on who goes to heaven, I suppose. Like you know, there's no specific thing you'd be able to be to be a good person in God's eyes. It would just be, it's up to God in the end.
Oh yeah. Well, no, but as long as you confess your sins.
Okay, so that's a prerequisite, basically. Like, to be a good person, you have to at least own up to what you did.
Well, you have to God. You have to, because God's given you that grace to allow yourself to confess your sins to him, and for him to forgive you, absolve you of their sins. As long as you do that.
What if you haven't sinned?
If you haven't sinned, oh well, that's okay. That's great. That's great. That means that
cool.
that's okay. There's nothing to absolve you of. But if you have had sex before marriage, or if you have had lustful thoughts or things like that, you do have to confess that to God. You must. Yep.
That's pretty cool, actually. If you just, it's like, hey, I didn't sin, I don't have anything to confess.
That's right.
God's just gonna be a-okay.
Well, you have to believe in the resurrection of Jesus as well, because he.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you don't.
So if you're just a bit unsure about the whole Jesus thing.
Oh no, you have to be sure. No, you have to be sure.
Yeah.
Oh, you have to be sure. There's no guessing that. You can't guess that. You can't assume. You have to know that. You have to know that. You have to accept that.
So what about is that? And that I mean, I suspect then the Roman Catholics would be adamant about getting their message out to everybody to make sure that everyone has heard
Yeah.
about Jesus.
Yes, of course. Yes, of course. And if you want to, I can tell you about that at some other time as well. That's no problem for me.
Oh, lovely.
Because I care for you. I see you on Twitter. You're a really good guy. You're very, very humanist guy. Very, very wise, and caring person. And I think that's something you probably need in your life. That you can turn to Jesus and just live a full life, live the best life you can, basically.
That sounds quite appealing, actually. And to be honest, you've jumped ahead a little bit in my questioning, but that was going to be like what I'd wanted out of one of my questions was at some point, and But I'll jump into a few related questions then. So have you ever actually converted anybody so far?
Oh, I believe I have. I don't know if I have, but I believe I have. Yeah. Through my example and through sharing the gospel and what I do. I believe I have. I just don't know if I have. That's all. But I believe I have. Yes.
Do you have any particular memory of like attempting to where that's led you to think that you might have led somebody in? Or, like, is there a story behind it, or is it just sort of you've done good enough at expressing it to other people in general?
Oh, when I was younger, I used to talk about it a fair bit here and there with people. Like if I went to when I was doing a college course when I was young, it was just an arts course, so really just making friends and getting drunk every weekend. But I would talk to them about it and try to be humorous about it, just a bit of sense of humor about the whole thing. I think that's probably the best way to get through to people, a bit of sense of humor. And I think they were listening to me, listening to what I had to say, and I pointed them in the right direction. So I believe I did make a difference.
Fair, right? Obviously, I don't know the sort of persons that you were talking to at the time, but even in general, what would your view on atheists be? Like, are they someone you try and convert?
No,
I
wouldn't. I wouldn't waste any time with that rubbish.
Oh, okay.
No.
So it's not that like you're meant to like hate on them or avoid them. It's just that they're not worth it.
There's just something wrong with them. There's something wrong with them. There's something wrong with them. They don't know. They don't know the truth. There's something wrong with them. There's nothing you can do with them. They're a write-off. Don't worry about them. There's just something wrong with them. That's all it is.
All right. I got there's something wrong with them. I got it.
Yeah.
We figured that one out. Well, is there a difference for you between atheists and apostates?
They're all horrible. They're all horrible people. For me, they're all horrible people. They're, like I say, something wrong upstairs, in the mental capacity in the brain, and they're all no good, in my opinion. No good.
All right, fair enough. I've lost myself. I always lose myself at some point, but that's okay. Give me a trend. Science. Is there any particular scientific theories of any sort that you particularly object to as a Catholic?
Scientific theories?
Yeah.
For
Thinking
example,
the sort of stuff an atheist would throw out, I don't know, evolution, for example, or...
look, I think there's something there because I mean I've been to the zoo. I've seen chimpanzees, and I think there is something there. There might be a connection from a long time ago. I don't know what happened, but I think there is something there. I do sort of believe in that because we've found little things that show that. So I kind of believe that. I kind of believe that there was something that happened a long time ago. Maybe the animals I don't know how it happened, but there's something there that happened, because you can see in their eyes, you can see that they're like a relation. I just don't know how it happened. I don't know anything about that. I don't want to sort of go into that part of it.
No, that makes sense. That's all right. Like, not everyone's going to be into all the little ins and outs of it, and that's the kind of the beauty of faith. You don't have to be.
No, it looks like, that's what I just believe, that everything was for a reason. Here for a reason. Everything's for a reason. I believe that that's how things were just made, and that's what we have to accept, because that's what we've been given. That's all there is to it. Yeah.
All right. I'll move on to a different sort of set of questions. Thing is, I need to grab myself another drink.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask the question, run away. I'll be about 5 seconds, so you can. Yeah. I won't miss much. I'm pretty sure.
All right. Okay.
So my question 42 for everybody is: what is the meaning of life for you?
Meaning of life. I have read that book too. Yeah, it's very funny.
It is a toughie.
It's a good one. Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one. The meaning of life. I think it's just to be happy. I think it's to pray to God. Pray that we are in His hands. We have to trust in God, and whatever He has for us, I think there is a purpose for that. As they say, God don't make no junk. So we are here.
Make no junk.
God don't make no junk.
It's all there for a reason, kind of thing.
Everything's for a reason. Everything's for a reason.
Gotcha.
Yeah, everything's for a reason, and we have to just trust in that. As long as we talk to God day by day, and I pray every day to God every night before bed, and everything seems to work out okay. We just have to believe that everything is okay for a reason, and I think to love one another and to be happy, and trust in God. That's all we can do. That's all we can do.
That's very cool. Yeah, I mean that's a good life to lead.
Yep. Yep.
So one thing I'm definitely curious about, because I come from a background of being a Jehovah's Witness, where there's a lot of things that I would have liked to have done, which I couldn't. Like an easy one, birthdays, for example. So I figure like a lot of different religions have these different little things that you can or can't do, like media. Certain media they can't watch or listen to. Is there anything like that for being a Roman Catholic, that you have to avoid this certain
things that you can't do?
Life? Yeah.
Well, you can't really go out and about by yourself too much with your friends. You have to let everybody know what you're doing. You're not allowed to. I suppose it's to protect your sanctity, your spirit, so to speak. It's just to keep your spirit pure. You can't really, go out and be like all the other people, all the other kids, hanging out with each other in the streets. I mean, that's not really a done thing that you should be doing.
I definitely feel that. I know what that's like.
Yeah. So that's you're not really allowed to do that. When you're older, of course, but not when you're a teenager. I mean, you're not allowed to do those things, not really. But no, with other things, it's okay. We can watch what we want to watch. Birthdays are a very big thing with Catholics. We have very big birthdays, nice. So that's no problem at all. It's really just boys with girls. You're not really supposed to be
marriage kind of stuff.
Yeah, no. You're not supposed to be with girls. That's for when you're older. And we don't talk about any gays or anything like that. That's not really. They're sick as well. They're sick.
Fair enough. So, we'll probably get into that again soon.
Okay.
Have you? Have you ever had any doubts? Like, it's really hard to maintain a strong faith. What's something that has maybe given you doubt over the years?
Yeah, of course. When my grandparents died, my grandfather died of lung cancer. He never smoked. Um, I I was really angry with God for that, but then I was really sorry as well. So I was angry. I broke a few things in my grandparents' backyard because I was just angry. Broke a few jars when my grandfather died. He had these old jars in the shed. And I broke those. I was just angry, and then so I cried for my grandfather, but then I cried because I was angry at God too. So I was really sorry for that. For a long time, I was really sorry for being angry at God. And then, as you grow up, you have different people pass away, and that always makes me question it, especially when it's unfair. But then I'm sorry again because I shouldn't feel that way. I shouldn't feel that way at all. It feels like I'm not trusting God. So I have to remember to trust God. But they're the times that I feel like I have doubts, but only because I always question why God's doing that. So, and I shouldn't do that. So yeah, so that's any time. But I hate myself for doing it. I hate myself for doing it. I shouldn't do it.
Yeah. I'm gonna have a drink. I
Okay.
gotta break character, dude. I'm terribly sorry for that. For that whole experience, that sounds terrible. And I mean, and it's true though. Like that's the way you deal with
Yeah.
it when you're a theist. And fuck.
Yeah. You have to. But there was so much guilt with it too. There was so much guilt. So I'm gonna have a drink too. There's none anymore.
No, well, I'm glad.
Oh no.
All right.
Oh Jesus, yeah.
Alrighty. I gotta remember where I am because I've been jumping around and I went back and. Okay, here's a good overall question. Would you say God is omniscient, so knows all things, the future, the past,
yes,
everything?
Yeah.
So it's all planned out. All our lives are sort of predetermined and all that.
Yes. Everything from before we're born to after we die, the whole thing. Yes, absolutely.
So that would conclude everything in the world that happens is predetermined. Because all the people, actions, they're all
even when you
God's
think
plan.
Yeah, even when you think you're making a choice, you're not. You're not. God's already made it for you. Yep, that's right. That's right. Even when you think I'm going to change my mind, you can't do it. You can't do it. It's already decided for you. Everything.
So I'm thinking of the story of Egypt, the Pharaoh in the eventual Exodus, where God made his heart stubborn, wasn't it?
But his heart was already hard, so it wasn't really that. It was but the Pharaoh's heart was hard.
That's just a broad example that we can all relate to. But for example, look at some of the more recent atrocities that we can point out. And I mean, I don't necessarily want to, but we can think of some in the last 100 years. This is within God's plan, like everything that all these people do.
Yep. There's always some good that comes out of something. That's how you have to look at things. It doesn't matter how horrible it is. Something always good come out of it. Always. So if you think of something, if you think of 9/11, okay. For example, look what's come out of that. We've got better anti-terrorist laws now because of that. We've got better security at airports now. Travel is a lot better because of that. So if you think of all the lives that have been saved because of that, that's how you have to look at it. You have to look at it that way.
I mean,
you have to see how.
The enforcement of protections for our safety.
Yeah.
At the sake of liberty.
Well, it's been better. We have to look at how much that's helped people's lives. That's God's wisdom. God is smarter than us, any of us,
Okay.
ever. So we have to look at it that way. It may be horrible for us, but if 3,000 people die to save 15,000, maybe on other planes that we're going to blow up, then that's better. That's good.
So does God actually, in some mysterious way, of course, but assist the governance of man, like how we look after ourselves?
I think God does that in little ways. Yes, I think he does. When you see something like Kim Jong Un and the politicians who are bringing the world to war, when God, I think, steps in sometimes and he helps them and brings everything to a more peaceful resolution. So we have to again trust in God in how he works. I think he does come down and sometimes he talks to people in certain ways. Maybe they don't even realize it, but I think he does. I think he really does.
Fair enough.
Yep.
So speaking of the sort of politics of it all, do you have any particular political opinions or persuasions, influences that are correlated with your religion, with being a Roman Catholic?
Look, there's not. Yeah, look, there's not. I mean, I appreciate our Prime Minister and his beliefs, and I think he's a good man for that, because he's the first one who's been, in a long time, who's been openly faithful and showing his faith very openly, and he just constantly keeps getting attacked for this really unfairly. I think it's really unfair what the media does to our Prime Minister. He's got a right to express his belief, but he's always doing it clandestine, little meetings on Facebook with people of faith holding prayers, and then the media jump on that. It's really unfair. He should be able to be who he is. He believes what he believes. Just don't judge him. Leave him alone. He believes what he believes, and we all should have a belief in something.
Fair
Really.
enough.
Yeah.
Fair
So
opinion.
Yeah.
But they don't necessarily push you in any political direction in any way. Because I know some denominations, specifically in America, I got to say, but they will direct their congregation to vote for certain sides.
They do. Yeah, they do.
Yeah. So there's nothing like that, though, I suspect.
No. I don't follow them very much. I just do my vote for when I need to vote, and that's all that matters to me. And
that's fair enough.
And, yeah.
That's
so
all
whatever
they do, eh?
Whatever they do over there, it doesn't matter to me. As long as we're looking after ourselves a little bit here, that's what we have to look at.
So, sort of to clarify, you wouldn't say that your religion has influenced your political opinions in any way?
A little bit, but look, I don't really follow that very much. I don't follow politics very much. No, I just vote for who my family vote for. Whoever they vote for, I vote for, and that's all there is to it. I don't really worry about that too much. But I did vote for. Yeah, I did vote for. I would vote for Scott Morrison, because I respect his faith, and I think he needs all the backing he can get, and everyone should get behind him for that.
That's each to theirs.
Yep.
Okay, well, I want to delve in a little bit deeper onto this, though, and I know you've touched on this just a bit earlier. So what would your thoughts be on the LGBTQ and, like, gay marriage, for example?
No, I think it's sick, really. I didn't vote for seeing men kiss in the street and doing all sorts of things in the street, because that's what we're going to see now. This with gay marriage everywhere. I don't have to see it. I didn't vote for it. Why does my vote for, if I say no, why shouldn't that count? You know what I mean? Like I said,
I'm pretty sure it would count. Sorry.
I didn't mean it that way.
Terrible.
I'll take a drink.
Yeah, I will too, actually.
I'm getting too into it.
You are.
Oh yeah. This is this is what I've heard my whole life. So I want to drink because it's what I've heard my whole life. And whenever you point out something like my stepfather, for example, he'd always say, oh, this poofter here, or whatever. But he's got every Elton John album in his CD collection.
Of course, yeah.
And he just
look. To be honest, it's the same as my old man. He kind of has that same derogatory tone, same kind of words. He doesn't necessarily hate them. He just doesn't like them.
He just doesn't like it. It's not hate. It's just
he's
a fag.
The biggest Bowie fan, and he's the biggest it's like, dude, come on,
come on.
Even dressed up as Bowie once, and like, are you serious? You serious?
Yeah, come on. It's that sort of thing. So I've the whole thing about the LGBTQ.
I gotta say, I know we've been slipping, but we are very close to the end where we can come into reality.
Okay, good.
Again, so
okay,
we'll hold together for a little bit longer.
All right, let's go back into it. Okay,
if you can. Literally, pretty much the last question that you faltered on. So, or no, I think I brought that out, didn't I? I can't remember now.
No, I don't know, but I've been climbing the walls, guys. This has been so hard.
All right,
I commend you, sir. This has been so good.
We got
okay.
gay marriage. Yeah, that's where we were at.
Now look, it's sick. There's something wrong with them. Do whatever they want behind closed doors, but I don't need to see it. That's why I said no. I don't want to see it in the street. I go down the street, I see it happening. I said no, but it shouldn't be happening. But anyway, that's another story. I think it's a sickness. That's all there is to it. I don't know about people.
Okay, so I'm taking a bit of a strong negative vibe here.
They're lovely people. Look, they're lovely people. I've met very lovely people who are lovely people.
But of course,
I just don't understand.
As for righteousness, godliness, they're not quite there.
Something went wrong along the way. Let's put it that way. Something went wrong. That's their business to sort out.
Were they not part of God's plan?
Well, that's hopefully this is what I try to talk to people about. Maybe if they can have a think about things like that, maybe that they have a better purpose in life than to be like that. They don't have to be like that. They can be better. They can be better.
Okay. Let's assume that there is a very, very kind, humble, friendly, married gay couple who decide they want to be Roman Catholic and attend mass or church every week.
Well,
would they be accepted in?
Well, that's not really what they should be doing. Well, they can,
but if they wanted to become better, like how would you greet them? Like, would they be accepted if they're walking and holding hands?
Oh, look, I would say hello. Of course I would. I'm not horrible that way. I'm very accepting that way. I would say hello. I would never turn my back on anybody like that. I would always shake hands and say hello. But they really can't do that, walk in like they're married and like they own the place. They can't really do that. And that's really not for them to do.
At least allowed to attend still?
Oh, of course. But they really have to think about, but they have to think about why they're coming. And if they're coming because they're married, well, that's not really the reason why they should be coming. They should be there because to honor God. So
that's fair, of course. Yeah. Oh, and I assume this would be the same with straight couples. Like they couldn't just wally on in with their hands, holding.
Yeah, no, they have to be very respectful. The church isn't a place for that, so they have to be very, very respectful. It's the least they can do, really, if they want to be accepted into that.
Again, just to clarify, that's straight couples as well.
Yeah, straight. Yeah, of course, of
Yep.
course.
Okay.
Yes,
No,
of
that's at
course,
least fair. That's at least a fair set of
of
standards
course. But they don't
for
really.
both.
They shouldn't really be married, though. That's not right.
So that's.
So,
But if it's already happened, I mean, what are you going to do about it? Like,
well,
would
they
you
should
act?
think. Well, they should really think about what they're doing there, and really, they shouldn't be living
But
that sort
doesn't
of
God
life.
isn't marriage something that God is like makes God happy and stuff?
Not that marriage. No,
Not
no,
that marriage.
no, no. Of course not.
Well,
No,
fair enough.
no. It's not. It's not right. It's sick in the head, and it's not the way it should be. So they can think about they should come separate or something. They can come in that way, or if they're respectful, they can come in together. They shouldn't really be married. That's not how it should be. That's not how it is. Yeah.
So I mean, you know what? I think I might leave that one. I might let that one be. I think we've
Okay.
sort of established where we're going there. Okay, here's a bit of an easier one. And
Okay.
most,
Yeah.
it's a bit of a lighter one. What about women's
Sure.
rights? Like in the wages
Yeah.
and workplace and all that. Women's rights is something that, you're all for?
Oh, yeah. Of course. Yeah. Yeah. That's fine. I mean, yeah, my mother was. She worked from a very young age, and I believe in that. That's no problem. I have no problem
Yeah, because, I
with that.
mean, they
Yeah.
deserve the same rights that every, man does, right? Like, that makes sense.
Yeah. 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 I believe that. I believe. I mean, a woman really is meant to be a mother,
Hmm.
and they're for children. So there's nothing wrong with working and having children. We see that can work. Um, so as long as she's very, like I say, very respectful, and yeah, no, I don't see any problem with that.
Oh,
As long
that's
as they
lovely.
understand, yeah, as long
I
as they
mean,
understand, as long as women understand that, a family is everything as well. A family is very special as well. So not to work too much, but working is fine. Yeah.
so you've got like the work role and the family role, like, is
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that sort of thing? Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Because women should really think about, having families and things like that. That's very, very important, very special.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
And that's actually touching on my next question, because I'm curious about, does that extend, of course, to women's rights in healthcare? For example, abortions.
Well, they shouldn't really get into that situation in the first place. This is why um, you shouldn't really be out gallivanting around town together. Getting into all sorts of
Mhm.
strife, because then this is the situation you find yourself in. Then
But of course.
it's
Yeah.
something. Yeah. So if you're not doing those things, if you're not going around town, like a floozy going around everywhere, you wouldn't have to go do that.
Because married women never have to, by any reason, have an abortion at all, ever.
Well, not that I really know. As far as I know, it's young unmarried women.
Okay.
Okay,
Fair enough.
so young unmarried
That
women,
matters.
it's their lifestyle, and that's how. Yeah, so they get caught up in all these things. That's where maybe the church can help a little bit with that as well. So
Absolutely. Yeah, that
yeah,
makes sense too.
yeah,
I'm sure the church could help.
yep.
Now, my last question of the day is definitely an easy one for us. We're Australian. This show is obviously going to be for a lot of other people in a lot of other places, but for us, this is a bit of a fucking, this will be a sixer for you. Like, if you're into cricket at all, like, you're just going to smash it out the park for
Okay.
fucking your baseball fans.
Yes.
What do you think of the death penalty? Do you have any particular inclination towards the idea of putting people to death?
The death penalty.
Because it's quite a common thing in some places around the world, of course, especially
It
with
is.
religious bias.
It is. It is. Well, I think it depends what it's for. I don't really agree with the death penalty myself. That's a personal choice, but I think I know there are reasons why in other religions there is a death penalty for certain things. I don't know anything about that really, but I don't really agree with the death penalty. I don't. I think people should be able to be saved, and through redemption can be better people. So
That's it.
It's
and
a
I
very,
got to admit,
yeah.
Australian, given the way we do things around here, I would be a little worried if you thought otherwise, just personally.
Yes, I know it happens in other countries, but not here. That's right.
That's it. So I want to congratulate you. We're at least at the end of, where you have to be a theist. You can let it all go and be yourself again now.
Got a headache.
It is quite a ride. I want to know.
I didn't want to be
how
so
you feel.
serious in that, but how I feel.
Like, yeah. How did you feel through all that? Like,
I've just got a cracking headache at the moment, to be honest. I've got a cracking thumping headache, yeah. And it's not your doing. It's just that mindset of,
yeah, I understand it.
it's almost like a really emotional thing. And you got, when you step back into it and you hear yourself saying that crap, it's like, I'm actually a bit sweaty because it's sort of it's weird. It's weird. Yeah, it's like because you hear it all your life, and then you realize how horrible it actually is, because it actually does affect people, and sort of saying it is just really weird. It's hard. Yeah, really weird.
I want to commend you. I think, my memory might be a little off, but I think you're the first person to not have broken in the middle of it to say, this isn't what I really think. This is me pretending, because it gets that intense.
I like drama as a kid. I loved acting and stage plays and stuff. So
help.
I can sort of,
that'll help.
It helps stepping into a character, but it was still hard. That was really hard.
Yeah, because you did mention a few times you're like, what was it, crawling up the walls or whatever it was. Like,
I was climbing the walls.
The walls, yeah.
I was actually gripping my palms with my nails. You know what I mean? Like, I was actually, when you sort of grip really hard because you're sort of just holding it in. God, it was really hard. Yeah, my heart's going too. It's really weird.
So how long ago did you actually boot being a Catholic?
2018.
Oh shit! That recent. I think about 2 years from now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's about as much as me as well. I was 2018 when I finally gave up the God notion. So.
Oh right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I walked away from the J-dubs when I was 12, but took me a while before I realized that the whole God thing wasn't a thing.
Oh, so you got out really early. You got out fairly young.
I was a bit lucky. I was quite an independent. I've always been a bit of an independent kind of person.
Yeah.
Don't like authority very much.
Yeah. It's a good thing to have. That subservience. If it's in your nature, it's going to be there for a long time. It really affects people. I know quite a few subservient people who, in their nature, really don't want to question anything at all. They really are scared to question anything, even outside of theistic belief. So you can see why they just go along. They go along. It's horrifying. But look, I've always been very skeptical through my whole life, and I think that's helped me gradually step away from it. But I know it'll hurt my family. I don't really talk about it with my family, so it's too close to the bone for them.
Yeah, I'm definitely in the same group there.
You are.
I mean, I can talk to my old man about it, sort of in private. But he doesn't really care.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
In a good way, though, right? He doesn't care in a good way. Like he's.
Yeah, it's just like religion was never his thing. He's atheist in the sense that he's just doesn't give a shit. He doesn't have time for that. He's way.
Yeah. Okay.
He's got something better to do.
So did he help you get away from it all? Did he, or is
Not really, but it was definitely in a way, yes. Actually, he deserves credit, but in a subtle way, like he sort of also allowed me to get into it too. He was
yeah?
passive, but just his being in the family as a not going to the meetings, for example, gave me
Mm.
at some point a reason to be like, well, I'm not going to the meetings.
Okay,
Dad
got
gets
you.
to stay home. Like,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah,
and I mean, there were a lot of other things and factors and stuff that went on too, but
yeah.
that was a contributing factor. But he never really paid any time, and I talked to him just the other day about this actually. Where like he had to read the Bible before bed at night with his mom back in the day,
Mm.
but he worked on a on a property, normally in sheds and stuff. Like there was no time for going home and doing church or anything like that. Like that was just not part of the
Yeah,
day.
right.
You couldn't. There was, hundreds of miles between you and the next smallest town.
Yeah,
You're not
okay,
going to do
right.
fucking church service.
Yeah, right.
Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I was lucky
so
with my stepfather was that way. He was quite agnostic with the whole thing, and I think that
yeah,
was a bridge away from the irrationality of Roman Catholicism as well. It was a safety bridge
yeah, and
to
I
to
think
question
that
it.
did help.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it gave me that sense of there's other options. There are other things, even if I didn't realize it at the time.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, see, I've always had that. When I was saying atheists are sick, that's what I heard all my life. I didn't really know what they were. I didn't really know what an atheist was. I just thought it was like a cult thing.
Fair,
Um, yeah,
ironic.
I thought incredibly ironic. That was the insinuation, was that it was a strange little cult of people that believed a certain thing, but I didn't really know what they believed. How ironic that it was that it's a complete lack of belief.
Yeah,
It's not a, yeah. So that was my impression, that they're just sick. They're funny people. They're weird. Um, and so when I finally realised that's what I was, it was a strange dichotomy of ideas because,
yep,
oh, what I'm in a cult now. So that's why I've been navigating this whole thing over the last year and a half. Because you obviously get personalities that you get on with online and so on, and in real life, but you're still navigating your own way because it's also different for everybody, and that's what I'm realizing. Um,
it is.
yeah,
Well, you have your own path, and you just sort of
yeah,
hoping for the best as you go, looking,
you hope
trying
so.
to, as I say, like
Yeah,
as what hopefully most of us do is keep an open mind and a skeptical mind. Sort of, they're two different things, but they're both useful.
yeah, that's right. And when I started on Twitter, that was just a whole new universe of right. It's a whole new universe of yeah. You don't know what you believe. It's like, you don't know me at all. Like, what? How can you assume so much in 120 characters? It was just unbelievable. So I've had a lot of fun on Twitter. Oh,
I
it's
bet.
just it's amazing.
So I'm onto something a bit serious.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't. I have. What political views have changed since you were a Roman Catholic?
Oh, in terms of, I've always had a bit of a pulse, especially with Australian politics. Probably more so when things became more interactive online. To find, when I determined I was quite lefty social, that determined my voting from then on. Because I wasn't really politically minded when I started voting. In terms of a global aspect, yeah, the Pentecostal aspects of uh, laws passed from religious ideologies is something that I'm really just quite fascinated with and alarmed at. Um, the political power, you know, um, structured under religious ideology is quite alarming. And probably ever since my, stepping away from that over the last few years, it's a lot more astute now than it ever has been. The US is just a cacophony of far extreme right um, and religious belief. It's just amazing how that's just been so influential. But even going through history, you can see that now. The more you research into it, the more you see these influences
Yeah.
of the power of, especially with Catholicism, the power they have
So true.
over political parties. You just go, wow, they have these funds that funding
They're the
these,
biggest for a reason.
they are the biggest for a reason. And the reason is not all good at all. And we really have to over these ensuing years and decades, start to perhaps break it down into something completely different, eradicate it altogether. I don't know, but something has to be done about it.
What about some specific topics that we touched on? For example, like gay rights, women's rights, abortion, things like that.
Yeah.
I would like to assume that those things have obviously changed. It'd be nice that the audience would know that too.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, just to clear it up.
Could
No,
always
well,
be
I'm
better.
actually, yeah, I'm actually doing a response to the Pope this week when he, I'm all for gay marriage. I'm all for same-sex marriage. I'm all for that. All for the rights of LGBTQ people. Anyone out there, you've got an ally in me. Put it that way.
That's it.
Because it's just because of life, isn't it? Because there's gay people in my family, there's gay people in my wife's family, there's gay, I've had gay friends that my
But
friends of
that's it.
friends have
It's
been gay.
they exist.
It's
They are
life. It's,
people.
yeah, it's
That's it.
life. I mean,
They
it's,
get rights like we get rights.
well, exactly. And I've had gay people pass from HIV complications, and this was back in the late 90s when medications were non-existent, and to see young people die in their at 30 is, it changes your paradigm, it changes your viewpoint on things, and you say, well, why should I get these rights? Why? Because I'm sitting there going, talking about my relationships and my hopes and dreams and marriage and kids and everything, and then they jump in and say, oh, well, that's, in not so many words, that's good for you. Right? And you start to realize in your teens and 20s and 30s, you're saying, well, yeah, I mean, why don't we all have these rights?
Yeah.
Yeah, so no, it's one of those things. I'm responding to the Pope based on his comments on the state of the world is the way it is because of same-sex marriage, and
Oh,
took a bit of
Jesus.
umbrage. Yeah, I took a bit of umbrage to that. So I'm just putting something together for that. So, um,
I wish Godspeed, so to speak.
Godspeed. I mean, even old Ken Ham was saying that too. The US is in the way it's in because of same-sex marriage. It's
Okay, you
like, just,
expect it from him, though.
you do expect it from him, but the Pope has been quite explicit this week in saying that. So it's out there.
All right.
It's just
Well, I
atrocious.
got two more quick questions back on you, and then we
Oh,
might
okay.
wrap her up.
Yeah. Okay.
First one's, looking back on your old self, do you have any regrets about who you were or what you did? Maybe people you converted?
Oh God, yeah. Oh God, yes. Yes. Just the sanctimonial attitude of it, the sanctimonial holier than thou attitude. Oh, it's and I thought I was being funny and clever, but really people just had their eyes glazed over whenever I was trying to talk to them about this stuff. It's just ineffective, and probably that was on me. I don't know, but and just holding certain attitudes that I believe that gays were just sick because I was told that. Believing that believing what else did we go through? just having those attitudes of social interaction that you can't do these things. There's a naturalistic urges in teens to explore their sexuality, whatever it may be, gay, straight, bi, intersex, whatever. That's everyone's right to explore that, and to think that others were less than me because they were different. It's just a horrible thing. And that came out in certain attitudes and judgment and comments and spiteful side whispers and things. And I hate that about that past aspect of me.
I mean, look, it's part of what made you who you were, and then you learnt from and became a better person.
Oh, I hope so.
So
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you got to take away from it. Instead of hating on it too hard, be like, look, I became a better person because of that.
Oh, of course, yeah. And look, that's a really good way. And we have better security now because of the terrorism, right? So, sorry, just
I forgot to actually bring that up earlier too. I was going to bring that one back, and I've forgotten to.
That's all right.
Well.
That's all right. No, I don't hate on myself for it, but it's one of those things where you look back and cringe about yourself. You can't help that. You just sort of look back and go, "Oh no, God!"
I'm with you, man. I do that too.
I don't hate it.
I'm a bit of a twat in the same respect, without realizing it.
And I think that's where you can forgive yourself. Yeah.
If you could go back and tell yourself something to get out quicker, what would you go back and say?
Oh, gee, okay. I would say, believe in your instincts more. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, definitely does.
I would say believe in your instincts more. Don't be so doubtful. Just go for it. If you want to learn, go and learn it. Because I'd hear something and go, "Oh, it must be true," as we all do. We think, okay, someone else knows better than me. And then when you learn something, you have to believe in yourself to want to learn it. If you know what I mean, you got to have that confidence to say, I want to learn this, and I will learn it, and I know it now. It's that knowledge. So I'd probably go back and say, believe your instincts. Believe that you can learn more than what you know. And just believe that you can question things.
Yeah, because the more that you actually learn about it, the less you're trusting on those others that you're just blindly believing.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a good way of putting it. Yeah, that's right. So do that.
That's a wonderful message, to be honest. That's a good one. I like that. All right, man. I want to thank you.
Thanks so much.
Done a wonderful round. Tell everybody who you are again and where to find you, a bit about what you're doing lately, or if you've got a show coming up or anything like that, feel free to plug yourself.
Yeah, okay. Just find me on YouTube, Mr. Bear Atheist. I do just response videos to whatever I find in the week, and just try and throw in factual knowledge in there as well. I'm on Twitter as well, Mr. Bear Atheist as well. So yeah, look, thanks so much for having me on. This has been really cool.
Not at all, man. It's been good fun. All right, everybody. Well, thank you very much for joining us. I'm sure there'll be many more to come in the future. Hopefully not all of them will be pre-recorded. They'll end up being live shows, but, we roll with the punches. Thank you again, Bear, for joining me. It's been a lot of fun.
Thanks so much.
Catch everyone around. Have you ever imagined sleeping with your own upside-down nacho? Do you wish you could grab a long-haired Australian and drink alcohol from their body? Maybe you're more interested in sitting on your imaginary underworld apostate's face, or just stomp me to the curb for writing such horrendous lines. Nachos go great with beer. Now you can and more with these fantastic overpriced items from the great range on sale in Nacho's Underworld Market. Your nachos are always best with beer. Pick up your very own upside-down pillow, throw an apostate on your stretch pants, or slap on some yowie socks and just walk all over me. Your nachos always go best with beer. So grab Australian mug, wrap your lips around it, and suck dry those glorious liquids. Everything in stock is limited because I get bored and change it up all the time, so get yours now. As always, ensure to thoroughly beer your nacho. Go to teesprings.com/store/nachos Underworld Market to grab your very own nacho now.
believe.